So today, as you can see, I've got my Gelli plate back out. It's a nice yellow colour since I was using alcohol inks on it, but it still works fine. And I want to have a go today at the monoprinting with magazine page techniques that seems to be all over the internet at the moment. You'll have seen people such as Birgit Koopson and others doing lots of great sort of tutorials and videos with sort of high contrast photographs from books and magazines. And I've got photographs here from glossy magazines, and I'm hoping that some of these might give me good results today. I understand this can be a bit hit and miss, so I've got no real expectations, but it's not going to cost me anything. I've got the magazine, I've got pieces of paper. All it's going to cost me is a bit of my time to find out, but fingers crossed we're going to get some good results. And I do like having some interesting prints to work on. They're going to make great pages for my journals, good starting points for a journal page, or just as a piece of artwork in its own right. I've got some scrap paper here for cleaning my brayer off as I go, and I've got a selection of book pages and old sort of vintage music, some children's book pages, some pages out of an atlas, and I think I'm going to print onto these rather onto plain paper because it just gives a bit more interest to the backgrounds. So we're going to begin by applying some paint to the Gelli plate, and I'm going to use fairly dark colours for the first layer. This seems to be the way to go. Today the paints I'm using are my DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics. I like using these on my gel plate. They're good vibrant colours and they seem to do nice crisp prints. And I'm going to be using 2 or 3 colours on each print. So for this first one I've got phthalo green blue and phthalo blue, and I'm going to apply that to my plate now with my brayer. We don't need very much paint for this technique. Thin coats seem to work better. So I'm just going to put a couple of dots of paint on and see if that's enough. And always add a little bit more if needs be. So now we take our picture and place it face down on the Gelli plate. We need to press this down well. Make sure that we've got rid of any air bubbles that may be in there. And as you can see, this appears to have worked. I mean, there's going to be a bit of marking there. We have to let this dry. Now, it shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to wait a moment or two before applying my next layer of paint, which will be some paler colours. And for the next layer, it's going to be primary yellow and green gold. And that appears to be dry, so I can go ahead and put this paint on. Again, a thin coat is all we need. If we think we've got too much, you can always take a bit off onto your scrap piece of paper. So now I'm going to put down my book page. Again, press down well all over this. and it should pull away, leaving your plate nice and clean. And there you go, that's not bad. Not a bad first try. Quite happy with that. You can see the details of her face. So moving straight on, we're going to do another print, and this time I'm going to take some dioxazine purple. And the phthalo blue once again. This time I'm going to take this advert, another good high contrast picture, and press down well, making sure to get rid of any of those little air bubbles that you can feel underneath. Once again, we're going to give that a few moments to dry. We want that to be dry before we put the next layer on, otherwise it will just muddy up all the paint. This time I'm going to use some cadmium orange hue with the primary yellow for my second coat. This time I'm going to print onto some music paper. So again, pressing down really well to get a good contact all over the jelly plate. And there we have another good print. Crop that down. I like the detail of her sunglasses there, that's really coming through. So I'm going to continue using this technique, working through my pile of pages that I've got. So I'll probably pop this onto fast forward with some music, and I'll pop up any colours that I'm using either as I go along, or I'll make sure they're in the description down below. So in the meanwhile, just enjoy. cleaned up a little bit. I got completely covered in paint and I've got paint everywhere. And I have to conclude that yes, the results of this magazine page resist technique can be hit and miss, but it is so much fun. I've got some really good prints, a couple that are not so good, but in jelly printing nothing goes to waste, so anything that could be better may get worked into again for a second time. But for now, I'll show you what I've come up with. Obviously this one here was the first one I did, this lady's face, and the detail in there is actually quite good, so I'm quite impressed with that. My second one though, the lady with the sunglasses on, again quite good. Not a lot of detail here because it does rely on there being good contrast, and obviously at the bottom of her face perhaps there wasn't, but again, put some journaling in. It's a good basis for a page. This one of my absolute favourites, to be honest. Absolutely perfect, high contrast black and white, and really did work well for me. On the whole, I found ones where I've used white paint in my satin layer didn't lift off the plate very well. This, however, was the first one that I'd used white on, and is the exception to the rule, and did transfer really well. So this one, absolutely love this one. Also this, another one of my favourites, with this very high contrast black and white, the polka dots, the strong hairstyles. Really like that, the way that one's come out. I did this one here. You can just about pick out this lady's face. Not enough contrast obviously in that part of the design. This bit at the bottom transferred better, so bit of a failure there, but again, I shall stamp or stencil or something on there, just use it as a background for something. This one worked out really quite well. Again, quite good contrast there with the sunglasses and the face. Could have been better, but still quite impressive. This one, I have to say, I was slightly disappointed, was working really well. Very good high contrast with these two figures. But this was where I started to find the white paint not working so well. And when I lifted it, I lost the detail of the lady's face here. So I went back in with some more paint. So I think I used some yellow paint over the areas that hadn't lifted. And I got the detail of her face much better on this second sort of ghost print. So what I'm very tempted to do is possibly collage this over this in my background, line it up, obviously, and at least then I've got all the detail, because other than that it was really going to be quite an impressive print. But again, nothing's lost here, and I think this might work quite well using the two layers. Again, this one could have been better. A lot of contrast here in the outfit that she's wearing, but by the time we get up to her face at the top, there's just not enough detail. But again, this area here, this patterning is quite nice. I like the fact that the buttons showed up well. So I'll go in and do some more work to that. Again, this one, the figure, the arms, you can see her face slightly better there, her eyes and her hair, but because there's no contrast around her chest and neck, it's a little bit lost in there. This picture, this one came out quite well, with the figure being pale, and we've got the green background, and we've also picked up some of the lettering in the perfume advert that it was. So again, quite impressed with that one. We'll add some extra details in here. This worked really well, the figure and the strong shapes in the background, and we've even got the Dior down at the bottom there. So again, I like that. And this one, really good. Wasn't sure about this with it only being a section, but I actually like the placement of that. I like the words, the fortunate way that the G in the center of Bulgari is actually at the bottom of the globe image that's in the back. It really worked out very well, so I'm happy with that. There were a couple of times when I'd used the white paint and it hadn't all lifted off, that I just went in with another scrap of paper, put some paint on, and just went to lift the paint. So I've got this piece here that I can use as a background as well. I've obviously got the pieces that I cleaned my brayer off. I always save these. These are great as a background, either with some stamping or stenciling on top. So again, none of those are going to go to waste. And also the magazine pages, which now have a great layer of colour on them. I think I can't get rid of those. I mean, they're going to be the basis of something. And this wash of colour works really, really well. This one here I used to try and lift some of the white paint that was left after I'd gone in with that book page, so we can actually see some writing. It's just added texture. I'm really quite impressed with that. Again, that with the colours washed over these magazine adverts really add something, and I'm definitely going to have to find a use for them. So there, I mean, I've spent about an hour playing and absolutely thrilled to bits with some of these prints that I've got here. Some, as I say, didn't work out quite how I expected, but on the whole, a technique that I'm definitely going to be trying again. I don't buy glossy magazines very often, but I bought this one specifically to try this. So yeah, go out and buy one and give it a go. And if you've tried it yourself, let me know in the comments what sort of results did you get. I hope I've explained this in a straightforward way. As I say, it's not my original idea. There's a lot of people trying this at the moment. I just wanted to have a go and see for myself whether it did work, whether it was an easy technique. And as you can see, it is a really straightforward technique if you're prepared to make a batch and throw a couple away or reuse a couple. But yeah, you're going to get some good results for some nice artwork. So if you enjoyed the video, as always, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to leave me some comments down below if you want to, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for now. Bye.